I'm Doug Ellis, and here to talk with Jeff about the upcoming Windy City Pulp and Paperback Convention, our 12th show, which will be held April 27th through 29th at the Westin Lombard Yorktown Center. What can I tell you about this year's show, Jeff?
What's new?
Well, this year our theme is the 100th anniversary of Edgar Rice Burroughs' two greatest characters. Everyone, of course, knows Tarzan of the Apes. And courtesy of the Disney movie this year, John Carter is also now obviously very much in the news. So we're celebrating the 100th anniversaries of both those characters. John Carter first appearing in All Story in February of 1912, and then Tarzan, same magazine, later that year in October of 1912. So our programming will focus on those two iconic characters. We've got a great film program set up again by Ed Hulse of Blood and Thunder, which will feature primarily Tarzan movies. We have tried to do some of the better ones, the more obscure ones that people don't really get a chance to see. So, I mean, there is one Johnny Weissmuller film in the mix, but for the most part, there's a couple of silents and a couple of rarities that don't get shown too often, but which are quite good. And in addition to the Tarzan films, we've got a couple of other Burroughs-related items. One of his Pellucidar movies from the 70s, and a few other interesting things that we think folks will like. The theme continues in through our program book, which Tom Roberts of Black Dog Books is in the process of still putting together, but will be devoted to Edgar Rice Burroughs and his works. And our art show will also have a Burroughs theme, in which we'll showcase artwork that was used on covers to various Burroughs pulp magazines or paperbacks or hardcovers. Got artists like St. John and Small Frazetta, some Krenkel illustrations, as well as a lot of other pulp and paperback artists that people will recognize once they come and see it. We're also doing, just so we get a little bit of a wider mix of art, some art by artists who are associated with Burroughs, but may not be necessarily Burroughs art per se. So we'll have more St. John artwork than just related to Burroughs. We'll have some of his Weird Tale stuff and things of that nature. And also art devoted to authors who were competitors or inspired by Burroughs. So we'll have folks like Otis Adelbert Klein, who wrote about Venus and Mars at the same time that Burroughs was writing his work. And then the other sort of special thing this year's show will be our third installment of Pulp's at auction on Friday night from the estate of Jerry Wiest. And this year's auction features approximately 1,800 pulps broken up into 200 lots. And it's a broad mix of material this year. There's a lot of adventure type stuff. There's a lot of Western. There's a fair amount of detective, a little bit of science fiction, but some very interesting stuff, some very rare stuff, and some stuff that we think folks will be very interested in taking a look at and hopefully bidding on. The good old traditional stuff is probably number one in everyone's mind, the dealer room. This year, like last year, we expanded it. So we've got 143 tables this year, which is the same as last year, the largest pulp show dealer room in the country. And we've got a very good mix of dealers coming in. We've got obviously a number of folks returning. We also have a couple of new names that are interesting. We've got Lloyd Curry coming. Lloyd is probably the number one hardcover science fiction and fantasy book dealer in the country. He rarely does conventions. I think the last one he did was probably about 15 years ago. But he's taken a couple of tables at the show, so it'll be very interesting to see what he shows up with. We also have a number of artists that are showing up for the first time, like Dave Dorman, and Sequential Comics is showing up, which is actually very relevant for our theme this year, because starting in June, Sequential will be launching their line of comics inspired by or based on the pulp stories of Edgar Rice Burroughs. Unfortunately, 2 months too late to debut that at our show, but it'll be coming out shortly. So they'll be bringing a lot of the original art for people to see from folks like Tom Yeats, who's a well-known Burroughs artist, and should be an interesting display. And one thing that will be debuting at the show is Gary Gianni has spent a year working on art for a limited edition book of one of Ray Bradbury's short stories that Terry McVicker of Rare Books is publishing in a limited edition. So that will be debuting at the show. So very interested to see that. I've seen some of Gary's drawings here and there that he showed off at various conventions as he's been putting the project together, and it's great stuff. It's just a fun time to get together with a lot of people who share your interests, who know what pulp magazines are, know what vintage paperbacks are. So for me, it's just a ton of fun to talk with folks who share, our interests and renew old friendships. It's as pulp shows go, it's a large show. We broke 450 in attendance last year, which is the most I think ever for a pulp show. But a lot of the same people come every year. We do obviously get some newcomers, but people are very friendly. A lot of people know each other, so it's sort of like a reunion every year of you with several hundred of your friends, none of whom think you're crazy for collecting. It's the Windy City Pulp and Paperback Convention. It's going to be at the Westin Lombard, Yorktown Center, April 27th through 29th, so Friday through Sunday. The general admission begins at 11 o'clock on Friday. There is an early bird admission if you'd like to get in during dealer setup, which is begins at 9:30 on Friday. You can get in a little earlier if you will buy the early bird admission. The show runs until basically midnight on Friday. The dealer room closes at 5, but then we've got films in the auction and some program panels devoted to Edgar Rice Burroughs in the evening. Saturday it's 10 to 5 for the dealer room and the art show, films going on during the day. In the evening, again, we'll have another auction, more films, more panels, and then Sunday is 10 until 4.